Welcome back to ETT. We're here again. Another video for you guys. Alright, so as you know, Apple released the new iMac. And since Apple has released the new iMac, there have been a lot of conversation about it, about the design, about the specs, about the entire computer, whether it should have been this color, whether it should have had the chin, all of this conversation about the iMac. My perspective on the iMac is that Apple knows what they're doing. Now, when you're making a product or you're selling a service and say, all right, then this is the persons that I'm trying to target. This is the persons that I'm making this product for. I believe Apple did just that. So the new iMac with the white bezel and the chin and the extra thin, well, maybe it's a little bit too thin, but that extra thin look was designed specifically for the average user. It wasn't designed for me. It wasn't designed for the tech enthusiasts. It wasn't designed for the pro creators. It wasn't designed for that. It was just designed for an average person who wants a Mac computer, an all-in-one computer in their house that they can just put on their desk and use. And all the complaints that I've been seeing online are from a lot of content creator, YouTubers, most persons who want a powerful computer, most persons who want the computer to look a specific way. It wasn't made for you. Sorry. As I said, it wasn't made for me either. And I understand that when Apple was coming up with the idea, Apple wanted to create the same design language from all of the iMacs. So if you look on the design language from the iMac, you would have realized that Apple continued the design language from, I think, the third iMac up till now. So the chin had to be a part of it. I know a lot of persons are saying that, oh, why they didn't make it like the Pro Display XDR. Guys, the Pro XDR monitor is for $6,000 US. Why would Apple then make a product that is less than $1,500 US or less than $1,700 US if we talk about all of them, just like a product that is $6,000 US? That doesn't make any sense. So Apple made this computer for the average user, the person who just wants an all-in-one computer that just works. It has the M1 in it. So when we look at the specs, so it doesn't have a lot of specs. It's not this great spec'd out computer. But remember, we are talking about the M1 chip. So when you hear 8 core and you hear M1, just think about it differently. So the base model is a 8-core CPU and a 7-core GPU, 256 gigs of storage, 8 gigs of unified RAM, either 2 Thunderbolt or 4 USB. Magic keyboard coming in at $1,290. Remember, that's the base model and it only has 4 colors. So if you step up a notch, you get an 8-core GPU with 8-core CPU. You also get 256 gig of storage, which is the same as the base model. 8 gig unified memory. As I said, we're talking about the M1. So the M1 makes 8 gigs of RAM seems like 32 gigs of RAM if you're talking about on the Windows side. Thunderbolt or 4 USB 4 ports, 2 USB 3 ports, gigabit Ethernet, Magic keyboard with Touch ID. If you notice, the base model don't come with the Magic keyboard with the Touch ID. I don't know why Apple do that. I understand that, you know what I mean? Yeah, but I don't know why Apple do that. Even though the base model, the difference between the base model and the upgraded model is like $200. So I guess that $200, basically you lose Touch ID for $200. I would just spend the $200 more and just get Touch ID. The highest specs, this is the highest level of M1 iMac that you can get. And this coming at 8-core GPU with 8-core CPU, 512 gigs of storage, and has the same thing as the previous model. So it has 2 Thunderbolts, 4 USB 4 ports, 2 USB 3 ports, gigabit Ethernet. That basically comes in at $1,700 US. After the base model, every model that goes up after that, you realize that they have the full range of colors. So Apple released the iMac with 7 colors. Remember, the M1 iMac wasn't made for persons like me. And if you notice Apple commercials, it shows regular person using the computer. It doesn't show a person doing editing. It doesn't show anybody like that. And mind you, it is still capable of doing these things, because just the other day Apple released a 13-inch M1, the Mac Mini M1, and the M1 Air. All of those computers have blown multiple persons' mind, even persons who are saying that they don't like the look and the feel of it. Yes, it has a white bezel. And does a white bezel make sense on a computer? Yes, no, depends on where you're from. The white bezel, the look and feel of it, the aesthetics of the iMac, just the entire design is done in such a way to grab your attention. So as I say, Apple wasn't thinking about, oh, you know, we're making it black bezel, because when you make a black bezel, if you have black content, which is what we tend to use most of the time, or if when you turn off the computer, the bezels disappear. Apple wasn't thinking like that at all. I would say Apple was thinking of this computer as a design piece, as something that you put in your house, and when a person see it, them like, whoa, yo, your computer look nice. As you can see, the punchy color in the back. This computer, it wasn't even meant to put up against a wall. Look at the commercial. They're showing that this computer is almost like a centerpiece in your living room. If you're like me and a content creator who wants an M1 computer, which is more geared towards content creators, you know, persons who do heavy lifting with your computer, just wait until the next iMac come out, which is the iMac Pro, which I personally believe that Apple might not change the design. I don't see Apple changing the design. It will still have a chin, but it will be possibly space gray or silver, and it will have a black bezel. So Apple can separate the pros from the normal ones. I don't think Apple will be changing the design language. I don't think the iMac will ever look like the Pro Display XDR. It doesn't make sense. If you want a Pro Display XDR, go and buy a Pro Display XDR, buy a Mac Mini, attach the two of them, get your specific keyboard that you want, and you're perfect. But again, the Pro Display XDR is a $6,000 product, and I don't see Apple making their iMac look like the Pro Display XDR. It just doesn't make sense. It just don't make sense in terms of design language, in terms of identifiability, looking at a computer and like, oh, so that's the iMac. Oh, you have a Pro Display XDR. Apple doesn't create design language for a computer or anything without having the person being able to identify it. Look at their earphones. Look at the Pro Max. Apple always want persons to identify what device you are using. Always. As a matter of fact, the identifiability of Apple device is not for you have it. It's always for the person who is looking on. Remember when Apple computer just came out, you know, the Apple was upside down when a person is looking at the computer. So then the Apple was in such a way that when you are looking at the computer, you see the Apple clear. And when you lift it up like that, it is now upside down for the person behind you. And Apple realized, oh, so it's more important for the person who is looking at the computer while I'm using it to see the Apple logo, like how the Apple logo is supposed to set, as opposed to the person who have the computer. You already have the computer. A person walk into your living room and see your new iMac on your desk. They can like, oh yeah, that's an Apple computer. It's clear. That's the reason why the Apple is not even on the front of the computer anymore. You already know that you have an Apple computer. You don't need to be reminded. So I really understand why Apple removed their logo from the front of the computer, just like how they turn the logo on the back of the laptops. That's it. That's another video, guys. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you like these type of videos, feel free to subscribe. Also, like this video. It helps the channel. This is ETT. Blessings and guidance.